Good evening. My name's Chuck Ioben. I'll be presiding over this evening's meeting of the Planning Board, April 13th, 2022. We have two items on the agenda for public hearings. One is 150 Commercial Street at 184 Commercial Street, which we will hear first, and then 98 Laurel Street. We have some administrative stuff to do first, so if you'll bear with us. I'd like to start by reading that for those in attendance, under the provisions of the open meeting law, attendees are informed that this meeting is being recorded by MATV. I have not been notified that any other video or audio recording of this meeting will occur. We'll move on then. We'll start and we'll do the roll call, starting with Risa. Give me a moment to activate the mics.
Risa Gray, Planning Board.
Tawadaj Gabrasallase, Planning Board.
Diane Shuha, Planning Board.
Ken Antonucci, Planning Board.
Chuck Ioben, Planning Board.
Michelle Romero, City Planner.
Eric McCush, Planning Board.
Pat Hayes, Planning Board.
Eric Henry, Planning Board.
Charlie Ferguson, Planning Board.
Thank you very much. Ken, can you read the first notice for 150 Commercial Street, please?
The Malden Planning Board will hold a public hearing in the Herbert L. Jackson Council Chamber, Malden City Hall, 215 Pleasant Street, Malden, Mass. at 7 p.m. on Wednesday, April 13th, 2022, on the petition of Bay State Physical Therapy on behalf of Plaza 188 Associates, LP, permit application number C00039779-2021, under Title 12, Chapter 12, Section 030 of the Code of the City of Malden, seeking a special permit to allow medical center use of property in the Industrial 2 zoning district, namely to occupy approximately 2,000 square feet for a physical therapy business located in the portion of the building known as and numbered 150 Commercial Street at the property known as and numbered 184 Commercial Street, Malden, Mass., and also known by City Assessor's Parcel ID number 055-232-211.
Thank you, Ken. Is the petitioner present? If you could come up, introduce yourself, name and address for the record, and please speak into the microphone.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Jamino. I'm here with Bay State Physical Therapy. Our address for our corporate location is 703 Granite Street in Braintree, Massachusetts, 02184.
Okay, but when you finish, just don't forget to sign the clipboard.
Yes.
Okay, so do you want to tell us about the petition, what your request is?
Yes, sir. So we are a physical therapy business. We currently are operating out of the Y in Malden, and we have the need for a new location as the Y can't no longer meet our needs. So in looking for a location, we thought that this was one that was favorable, that would help us to continue to serve the community.
Okay, and so what is it that you're looking to do?
So we're looking to continue our physical therapy practice with the current zoning as it is now. The medical use is not permitted in this zone, so we're looking for a special use for our practice in that location.
Okay, now what are you just going to be able to move in? Is it set up for you already?
No, sir. We have to perform construction. So we have a building permit that we are ready to submit for approval, and we have a construction team set up as well to get started on construction as soon as possible. We are working with the Y to make sure that there's a seamless transition to the new location, but we are pressed with time with the Y given our lease terms there.
When do you have to be out of the YMCA?
We're still working to determine the final deadline with them. They've been gracious with us so far in continuing to extend. Currently, we're hoping to extend through June or July with them, but that's also kind of pending how this proceeding rules.
How long will it take to build out the new location?
We anticipate about 8 weeks.
Now, your practice, will it generate any type of medical waste or,
No, sir.
and you're planning on just, is there a dumpster on site? What's the trash removal?
Yes,
situation?
dumpster on site.
What will your hours of operation be?
So typically, our practice runs about 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Fridays are 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. And do we have Saturday hours? Sometimes Saturday hours, usually in the morning, about 8 to 2.
So 8 to 2 on Saturday and close Sunday?
Yes, sir.
How many staff do you have or plan
So-
on having?
We currently have 3 treating therapists there. We also employ front desk administrative staff.
So 4 at any one time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long have you been operating out of the YMCA?
For the last 10 years.
Oh, 10 years, okay.
Yes, sir.
How many customers or clients do you tend to see in a given hour?
So each therapist will usually see 1 to 2 patients in the hour, pending how the schedule turns out. So total, it could be approximately 6
So
at the most.
typically is the average session last 30 minutes or?
Somewhere between 30 to 60 minutes.
Okay. Are you prepared to speak to anything about the rest of the lot with regard to the river and the commitments that were made previously in previous special permits?
Personally, I am not. Our expectation was that the landlord's representative would be here.
Okay, if name and address for the record, and also please sign the,
My name is Bryce Irving. I'm the property manager for Plaza 188.
Bryce Irving?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware of the river and the commitments that were made for the river and what the current status is?
Yeah, so we've been in contact and we've done the cleanup. Carol's got pictures that we can show you guys. We have the sign ordered to replace. That'll be fabricated by next Wednesday and we'll do the installation same day. The grading is going to be done by next Wednesday, if not sooner. We were going to do it this week, but we got rained out a few times. So the grading will all be complete, though, along with the sign within a week.
Well, when you say the grading will be complete, will that be on the southerly side too?
It'll be on both sides.
There's about 40 feet that looks to be torn up on the
Yeah, so
southerly
the snow
side.
plows did a number on it over the winter, but it'll be the whole side, both sides, but especially that one side.
What does that constitute? Is that a bituminous berm or is there crushed stone?
It's crushed stone and gravel, I believe.
Can you describe what your maintenance plan is for the lot itself and the river portion in particular?
So we have, I believe it's daily, I don't have everything with me right now, but I believe it's daily trash in the morning, swept up and picked up. And then the grading will kind of be on an as needed basis. Usually it's fine throughout the summer, but we'll keep an eye on it and make sure there's no washouts. And then after the snow season, we'll probably have to do an annual grading.
Okay. When I was there, I noticed a bunch of shopping bags up in the trees and along the shrub on the way down to the river. Does your daily cleanup involve the trail and the slope that goes down to the river?
Currently, the daily does not. It's mostly the parking lot and the front of the stores where the wind kind of usually tunnels it in there.
Okay, but how often do you clean along the bank?
I'm not sure how often along the bank.
Sorry for my tardiness. We got stuck in a parking garage. There were several of us. What was the question?
Well, first you can introduce yourself, name and address for the record when you get settled.
Sure. Carol Rash, the Director of Real Estate for the Hamilton Company, representing the landlord.
Okay, can you into the microphone, please? Name and address for the record into the microphone.
Carol Rash, 39 Brighton Ave, Hamilton Company, for representing the landlord.
Okay. The question that I had brought up prior to you entering was when I did my site visit, I noticed a lot of shopping bags up in the trees and along the banks going down to the river. There were milk cartons, there were shopping bags all stuck in there, and there was some debris. And what my question was to Mr. Irving was what's the daily cleanup schedule and how often does he clean? Does it get cleaned? And does that include the riverbank and the river trail?
Yeah, so there's a few different answers to that with regard to the service for the property. So the parking lot sweeping is done weekly. And then the hand picking is done usually every other day. So the guys are actually getting out of the truck and walking into these areas that you're talking about and hand picking the trash. But the sweeping is done weekly because the parking lot it's a wind tunnel, so it pulls in a lot of trash into that parking lot. So that's why we have the weekly sweeping or the daily sweeping in. And that's with immaculate sweeping, that contract. And then twice a year, once the snow melts, they do a thorough cleaning in the spring and they do it again in the fall.
And does that include going down to the river?
It does. It has them walking the entire perimeter of the property.
Okay. And Mr. Irving had mentioned that the walkway was going to be repaired by next week?
Yeah, so what it is, it's typical like soil erosion from snow melting, the rain that we get in April. So it's just typical water erosion. So we have Mike's Landscaping who comes in and does the maintenance of the regrading and then replenishing of that sand dust as necessary. But typically in the spring, it's far worse than it is, through the summer months or even the fall months.
Yeah, because what I saw didn't look like it was due to the rain.
Right, yep, heavy rains, yep, snow melting and heavy rain, which is typical for this time of year. So we have that contract in place annually, and that's part of that contract every year.
Okay, and Mike's Landscaping does it twice a year, do they do both?
Yeah, so Mike, it goes out to bid every year, but Mike's Landscaping has done it consistently, yes.
Okay, so it's just an annual contract, it's not a long-term contract.
Right, it's an annual, but the scope remains the same. Every time it gets bid out annually, that is part of the scope. Yeah, so we have an email from Mike's Landscaping indicating that they will have it done by Wednesday, April 20th, weather permitting.
Thank you. Michelle, do you have any questions or comments?
Thank you, I had a couple questions. So is it weekly sweeping or daily sweeping?
So it's daily, 7 days a week, that truck is there, and typically it's done overnight because the
Okay.
parking lot is empty, so that gives that truck the ability to really get in and do the sweeping. So
Okay,
it's
and that's
7
the
days.
immaculate sweeping, you
It
said?
is immaculate
Okay.
sweeping,
So
correct.
that's just the paved areas, though?
Right, but so
Okay.
there's that as part of the scope of their contract, in addition to, it's either 2 or 3 times per week, these guys are getting out and hand picking. This particular property behind the 150 building that we're talking about is an area that we have a lot of illegal dumping as well. So Immaculate is fantastic at sending us pictures from the overnight, saying, hey, guys, you've got illegally dumped, and they remove it for us. So they really have done a great job here, considering the amount of problems that we have with the trash.
Okay, and so then the Mike's landscaping contract is something else?
That's landscaping only.
In that,
correct.
but that includes the grading and the maintenance of the trail?
That's correct.
Okay. But in terms of daily, are you doing the trash and litter control throughout the site daily, twice daily, before any business opens, and once at close of last business?
So we do have a janitorial in place as well that is doing, and Phil Leahy, I think, Michelle, you're familiar with Phil. He's been with the property since development in 2010. So he's there daily doing his rounds, and he's got cleaners that he can send out. So that's how we handle the daily of the trash.
Okay, so, but the chairman had previously asked, so the daily litter control, though, that's not of the trail? It should be of the trail, it's supposed to be of the whole site?
It's of the entire property.
Okay.
Yeah, no, Phil is walking the entire property and then having the porters, the day
Okay.
porters, do their cleaning as necessary.
So if he sees the bags and the stuff in the trees, and he sees the stuff, it shouldn't be there the next day, it should be taken away, right?
Yeah, there should be somebody in place that should be taking care of it. I
Okay.
mean, definitely, given the amount of trash, it's an uphill battle, but
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And you mentioned that the sign was being ordered already.
yep, we have an email and a rendering on that as well, I believe.
Yeah,
it's-
if you want to submit any of that to the chair, you can, or you can just tell us the date and info, and we'll enter it into the record.
Absolutely, so the rendering, it's indicated that the sign will be produced by April 19th.
Okay, do you want to submit
And we
that?
are changing the material too. It looks like there's a laminate on that sign that's there. So we're changing the materials a little bit so that hopefully we're not doing this, because this sign was just done not long ago. So we're changing the materials, hoping that it will last a little bit longer.
Okay, but all the data on the sign's the same?
It's-
Because
everything
that's
is the
right,
same.
that's required by the state, so that has to be on there. Okay, thank you. So I did have one other question. But I'll wait on that, because I forgot what it was. It was to do with the PT person, so. Do you want them
Okay.
to submit any of that for the record?
Yeah,
Do
if
you
you'd like to submit anything, that's fine.
Do you want her to email it to me or submit it right now, or both?
It can email it to you.
Okay. So if you could email that picture of the sign, and also email the contract from Mike's, or that email you referenced. You can delete whatever you need to, but at least we'll have that for the record.
Absolutely, yeah, there's
Okay.
nothing that needs to be retracted.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for the petitioners? Whether it be on the site, or the river walk, or the PT request? Eric McCush.
Therapy building. How big is the waiting room? How many people do you expect to be waiting, and the changeover from people that are having their work done to leaving the room?
Yeah, so our expectation is minimal waiting, 1 to 2 at the most. We like to have people come in and get them served immediately.
Okay,
Is that it, Eric?
that is, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Michelle?
Yeah, my other question was, it's just one large treatment area, is that correct?
So we have an additional treatment room as well. We have a space for back of house. But
Okay.
primarily treatments in the large treatment area, yes.
Okay, so the area labeled back of house, that's a treatment room, or that was for staff?
That would be for staff.
Okay, so that's for staff, but the rest of
Yes.
it, as shown on the plan, you have a reception area.
Yes.
And then a wall behind it, but
Yes.
then the rest of it's all open, right?
Correct.
There's no separate treatment rooms or
Correct,
anything like
yes.
that. And then this back of house room is for the
Yes,
staff?
staff,
Okay.
and it'll be a break room.
Okay,
yeah.
and you mentioned a dumpster. Did you mean just like a trash tote? You said there really wasn't much waste. Where are you putting
Yeah,
the trash?
we don't produce much waste, so we'll have a dumpster there just to put regular kind of daily waste in.
But a dumpster outside or inside your building, inside your premise?
I believe that there's space for us to have it outside.
Okay.
There's also a common dumpster on site as well.
A common dumpster? Okay,
Yes. Yep.
okay. Thank you. That was,
Okay. Anyone have Tawadich?
I have one more question. I've been using the service in Malden, Ymca from Bay State. You guys are only giving like physical therapy. Do you guys have a plan to start occupational therapy when you guys like move to the new place? I was wondering, because I like it.
I'm not quite sure we're ready to do occupational therapy in this location. We offer it in some of our other locations, but we don't have a lot of occupational therapy currently. Our specialty is more with physical therapy, and if we do increase our occupational therapy offerings, we want to make sure that we're thoughtful about that. And right now, our resources are primary towards physical therapy. Now, if the opportunity came up and we had a talented person to add to our staff, it would certainly be something that we would consider.
Okay, can I add one more question? What about like acupuncture? Because I have been asking, I have been using like a service for a while, and I brought like few clients over there too. So are you guys planning to start like acupuncture?
So acupuncture is not in the scope for physical therapy. So physical therapists are not allowed to perform acupuncture by the Practice Act for physical therapy.
Okay, thank you. I'm all set.
Okay, Ken Antonucci.
Yeah, hi. Just curious, also on the focus of the PT. Now, do you, is it general? Do you do more, athletic physical therapy, elderly?
It's a
anything?
mixture.
Anyone? So it's general?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Michelle?
so you mentioned occupational therapy or to what extent. Is that part of your physical therapy, or is that you really physical therapy and that's it?
Yes. Yes. We're just physical therapy right now. We don't have any current plans for occupational therapy. That's not to say that things won't come up in the future, but our plan right now is only physical therapy.
So if the permit said physical therapy, that would cover all aspects of your business?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have another question?
Yeah.
Ken?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So additionally, so do you also, will it just be the PT being performed there? Or will you have like doctors doing evals or things like that? Or they're just
No.
coming in?
No physicians, just physical therapists.
Okay, so there won't be evals there, or preliminary, but it'll just be a PT eval?
Yes, just PT evals.
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any other questions? Is there anything else you'd like to add to the presentation?
So with regard to note 6 of the recommendation that was submitted by Michelle, 1 through 3 is okay. 4 through 10, I believe, is repetitive to the existing special permit in place. So I would ask that that be removed here from this, because it's specific to this use. It's repetitive to the existing.
Yeah, but this is for the whole site, not just one unit within the site.
Okay, it was, just a question. I mean, it definitely, my understanding was that this would be specific to this use where we already have this stuff in. So, I mean, it is repetitive. And then number 11 on this recommendation is not in the original special permit. So I would ask that we, maintain commercially reasonable efforts for the litter control, which is what we're doing, but to have it twice daily seems beyond what is commercially reasonable for a commercial property.
So for a lot that size, you believe cleaning it twice a day is
Excessive.
excessive?
I do.
I don't know that I agree with you, but your
And you
point
don't have
isn't well taken. I mean, just the trash I saw in the trees and the stuff along the banks after it had been cleaned up, would tell me that there's, I don't know that that's too excessive.
I will follow up on that. As I mentioned, we do, follow up with the trash here diligently. And I, can't speak enough about the vendors that are there. They're the boots on the ground. I'm surprised to hear that the bags were there after the cleanup. So I'm gonna get clarification on that. That does surprise me.
Are you on site?
We are not located on site,
Okay.
no.
Mr.
So-
Irving, you're not either?
Not in my office, not.
Okay.
So we rely on our boots on the ground who are there every day. So, and I'm surprised because they really do a nice job. Hopefully it was a one-off instance, because that's definitely something that if I noticed it's something that we would bring to their attention. But I think what is commercially reasonable is the contract that we have in place.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
That is all.
Sir, you all set?
I'm all set, thank you.
Okay. Ken Antonucci, did you have?
Circling back to the trash, where do you see the main source of the trash coming from? I mean, is it blowing in from your lot, from the street, from the adjacent properties?
It's a great question. Dunkin' Donuts, unfortunately, has a tendency to be a big generator of, things being left in the parking lot, such as cups, lids. The bags that we're seeing appear to be coming again from customers' cars, leaving them in carts. So I think part of it is generated on site for sure, but a lot of this we're seeing is coming in. We have not pinpointed exactly where it's coming from, because really, even if we pinpoint where it's coming from, there's not much we can do other than clean it up. So,
well,
but it is generated on the property for sure, in addition to blowing in from other sites.
That's what I'm wondering, if there's any way to protect mainly behind the building and along the waterfront with some type of fencing or
Yeah,
something
it's just enough
between
of
the parking lot and the backs of the building and the river walk.
Yeah, I mean, I was there last week, and some of the same trash was still there when I was there yesterday. So, and it was stuff on the ground. I'm not even talking about the stuff Chuck saw in the trees. I mean, it was in the same area, it was the exact same trash, so I'm not sure really, and this is more on the southerly side. The northerly side was definitely cleaned up from last week to this week. But there's just, I mean, if you look at the pictures, it's the same exact trash, and it's stuff like right on the ground. So I don't really know who's walking around the site, but they're definitely not walking.
Is it this southerly by the compactor for soup?
Southerly by the compactors, where it's all like depressed, it looks like trucks are using it as a turnaround, and there were bricks, there was a piece of metal, I mean, there was stuff there that was, I didn't see it today, I went yesterday, but I just think it's very visible to see it, so I don't think it's like you couldn't see it. Anybody that walks outside would see it, you know?
So I'm happy
Yeah.
to address that as
Yeah.
an area of concern, like, you
Yeah.
guys pay more attention here. This was taken at the end of day yesterday.
Okay,
So, to my knowledge, whatever was there was addressed.
Okay.
And we agree that these efforts, if
Yeah.
there's an area of concern, we address it with the vendors. We're
Yeah.
not disputing that.
yeah,
We definitely don't want the trash around the building.
yeah. I was there in the morning, so I didn't go back in the afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, if there are no other questions and you have nothing else to share, thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this point, we'll entertain anyone who would like to speak in favor of this petition. Anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor? Michelle, do you have anything to read in favor? Peg?
So this is a letter dated April 13th, 2022. It reads, "Dear Chairman Iovan and Planning Board members, I am sorry I could not be with you in person. I appreciate the opportunity to submit this letter for consideration in your deliberations on the petition of Bay State Physical Therapy to relocate to 150 Commercial Street at 184 Commercial Street. I write today in favor of the petition to grant them the special permit. I think there will be a wonderful addition to the plaza. However, the property is under a Mass DEP determination order number JD 05-1262 regarding Chapter 91 waterways regulations that requires the property owner to maintain the property around the river, including signage of the waterways regulation program, handicap accessibility to the walkway, and clearing the property of trash and debris. I do not feel they have complied with the order. My experience has been that the river area is only addressed when a petition is before this board, but not maintained after. The Malden River is a tremendous asset to the community. Malden is actively working to revitalize the Malden River through the work of the Malden River Works Committee, zoning changes, and community engagement. The section of the river behind this property deserves the same level of maintenance and attention. I would like to request the board place a condition on any special permit granted that the property owners submit proof of a maintenance contract to ensure maintenance of the public access and walkway area of Malden River is conducted on an ongoing basis, and the property is maintained in accordance with the Mass DEP determination order JD 05-1262 dated May 3rd, 2005. Thank you for your time and attention. Peg Crow, Ward 1 City Councilor, 9 Hancock Street, Malden, Mass. That was the only
That's the only thing.
thing that I
in favor.
received, yes.
Okay, and I don't see anyone else looking to speak in favor, so I declare that part of the hearing closed. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this petition? Anyone in opposition? Michelle, anything to read in opposition?
No.
Seeing, hearing no one in opposition, declare that part of the hearing closed. Michelle, can you take us through your staff report, please?
So as you've heard about the proposal to use the premises for a physical therapy business, this is a staff report dated April 13th, 2022, and it is incorporated into the record. I won't read every section of it, but I will reference some and read some. So you have copies of the plans that were submitted, the site plan, which is a current as-built parking plan, dated or signed March 2nd, 2022. You also have the set of plans submitted by Bay State Physical Therapy that include the floor plans and elevations. The subject property we're familiar with, it's Plaza 188, and I've given you a list of the current occupancies and tenants. This was provided by the property owner's management company. When I was out there doing the site visits, I did verify this as well. In terms of the locations. So the subject of this petition is the proposed physical therapy at the premises known as 150 Commercial. I did want to make that note. On the site plan, there is a label on the 190 Commercial Street portion of the building that's labeled Super 88 Expansion. That would require a special permit. That has not happened yet. They have not filed for a special permit, and the building, that section of the building is currently vacant. So if you do see that on the site plan, that's just a proposed use. In terms of zoning and occupancy, the property is located in the Industrial 2 zoning district. It is the subject of numerous special permits to redevelop and occupy the property for various commercial uses and structural changes. I've listed all the cases here. I've given you a copy of the most recent case, case number 10-13, in terms of the wholesale and distribution use by beauty salon supply business. You also were given a copy of the most recent case that was withdrawn without prejudice. That's case 20-10. That was for the food court. That's just really for your reference. The proposed physical therapy business is classified as a medical center use that's allowed by special permit in the zoning district. Other existing uses are allowed by special permit or by right. The Malden River abuts to the east. Abutting and surrounding land uses are industrial and business. The property is also considered pre-existing nonconforming because there are two principal buildings on the single lot. There are front and side yard setback violations that were legalized by variance. The existing larger building was allowed by special permit granted by this board in 2004. An addition was allowed by special permit granted in 2006. The proposal creates no new violations. terms of parking and loading requirements, all existing uses and the proposed new medical center use, total, everything requires a total off-street parking of 298 spaces in 4 loading spaces. I've given you a separate table that gives you the breakdown. That's the last page of the report. Gives you the breakdown of the different uses and what the parking requirements are and loading, et cetera. So there are 294 parking spaces on site and 4 loading areas. The parking layout complies with the minimum requirements. Proposed medical center use requires 11 parking spaces. The wholesale and distribution use required only 2, so this proposal technically creates a deficiency of 4 spaces or 1%. In terms of traffic impact, this petition did not require the filing of a traffic impact study per your current rules and regs. Mentioned the Malden River abuts to the east. For your reference, we do have the Malden River Site Plan Review Ordinance now in effect. This proposal is not subject to that ordinance due to the value of the work. It's not triggered, does not trigger the applicability threshold of that new ordinance. Also, we talked about the public access and riverfront walkway. The property is a subject of a State Department of Environmental Protection Waterways jurisdictional determination. That's JD 05-1262. Also, state laws and waterways regulations. It requires the installation and maintenance of public access areas and passive recreation amenities, specifically a riverfront landscape walkway, benches, signage, parking, relocation, and a plan of proposed activity. The site plan was approved by the Planning Board with the original special permit in case 04-26, and Malden Conservation Commission issued a negative determination of applicability dated December 7, 2004. I mentioned during the site visit last week, the property was observed to be not in compliance regarding grading, signage, and trash. There is an ongoing history of non-compliance, which we've talked about. We've heard from the petitioner, I was out there again yesterday, some of the cleanup has been done, and we've heard from the petitioner that they will bring the property into compliance within the week, it sounds like, by next Wednesday. So the findings required to grant the special permit are, you must find that any creation or increase in violations of dimensional controls or parking requirements will not be more detrimental to the neighborhood. You must find the proposal will not be more detrimental to the neighborhood, is not in conflict with surrounding land uses, and is in the interest of the common good. So those are the findings you must make to grant a special permit. My original recommendation was that the board table the decision to allow the petitioners to address the outstanding issue regarding maintenance of the public access area for the Malden River, to bring it into compliance with the Mass DEP Waterways jurisdictional determination regarding public riverfront access and walkway. Based on what I've heard tonight, I think that they are committed to addressing it. I had given you an alternate recommendation, so if at the time of the public hearing the issue has been addressed to your satisfaction, and that you make the required findings, the recommendation is to grant a special permit subject to the following conditions. I think that the issue is being addressed, but it's certainly up to the board whether to determine whether you think it's been adequately addressed at this time. If you do and you make the required findings, these are the recommended conditions for any special permit. 1 is that all development shall be as per plans, which are incorporated herein by reference and except as modified by these conditions. 2, the special permit authorizes use of 2,000 square feet at 150 Commercial Street for medical center use by a physical therapy business. Any other medical center use shall require an amendment of the special permit. 3, a minimum of 294 parking spaces shall be provided on site. 4, 30,000 square feet at 188 Commercial Street shall be for supermarket use only. 5, no restaurant use is allowed at the site except for 1,680 square foot coffee shop at 200 Commercial Street. 6, no sale of alcoholic beverages allowed on site except for general retail sales of beer and wine by Super 88 Market in approximately 800 square feet at 188 Commercial Street as per approved floor plan and subject to approval by the Malden Licensing Board. 7, no outside display or sales of any kind by any business. 8, employ a shopping cart retrieval service. 9, comply with Mass Department of Environmental Protection Waterways jurisdictional determination number JD 05-1262, Mass General Laws, Chapter 91, Section 18, and Waterways Regulations 310 CMR 9, to maintain the public riverfront access and walkway. 10, parking of storage trailers containers is prohibited except for unloading, and 11, perform trash and litter control throughout entire site twice daily, once before any business opens and once at the close of last business. In terms of the conditions, and the petitioner had asked about this, we typically do repeat all the conditions. This special permit applies to the entire property, not just to that subject premise. We do this for consistency, so there's no misunderstanding. This special permit is not overriding any of the other special permits, but some of these conditions need to be carried through and maintained so that it's very clear that they're still in effect. There could be a misconstruction, thinking if they're not put in, that the property is no longer subject to those special permits and/or the conditions. So we have historically done that, at least for the last 20 years. We've carried the same conditions through as long as they're still applicable. This board's familiar with the property, and occasionally these conditions are amended. We delete them when they're gone. The storage trailer condition has come and gone depending on whether the storage trailers, 2 years ago, there was still an issue with storage trailers, that's why it was left in. The litter control condition is new, and that was based on, as the chairman said, the history of issues with litter at the site. That was actually one that we were going to recommend for the food court, which was, you know, that petition was 2 years ago, and there was an issue with litter at the site at that time too. So I would recommend it. I'm not sure, you know, what's commercially reasonable. I think, you know, once in the beginning and once in the end seems reasonable, given that we've heard it's a, you know, all trash is blown in and it blows around, and it seems to be a, I don't know what they called it, a wind tunnel or what it was. So it's, I thought the rest of the site looked great, out front looked great, I didn't have an issue with that. It definitely is accumulating in the back. So I don't know if you want to make the daily litter part just applicable to the back, or what you want to do, how you would want to phrase it. I think it needs to be, I would say, at least once daily. My recommendation is twice, but that's just my recommendation. And I'll just note too, any of these conditions can be amended at any time. They can request to amend them. So if it ever turns out that it's not physical therapy and they have a different type of business that's medical center that wants to come in, whether it's urgent care or dentist or, you know, anything, they can come back in and petition. It's not prohibiting them from doing it, it's just restricting what this permit allows.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Does anyone have any questions for Michelle? I think the only issue is regarding condition number 11. What do folks think that twice daily is excessive? I personally don't think it's excessive. However, rather than seeing it at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, I almost would like it to be sometime midday. So at the beginning and then midday, because if you do it at the end of the day, then it's just going to be whatever blows in overnight. I still think twice daily is adequate. Let me see, Mr. Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess my base question was whether or not we were establishing precedence with this, this 2 times per day. And I gathered from the information that Michelle presented is that this is sort of a continuation or a carryover of previous things. So I'm not totally sold that we are actually establishing precedence here. But I also feel that because of the nature of this particular parcel and property and what the city is attempting to do and with the Malden River and to revitalize that, I think it would be a good neighborly thing to do to continue to try to keep that parcel as pristine as possible. And with that, I'll yield.
Thank you. Ken Antonucci.
Yeah, regarding Mr. Henry's comment, I would consider this more site-specific and not as, you know, because this, you know, we kind of treat these cleanups more site-specific, right? But also, my comment was more along the lines of your thoughts too, Chuck, that twice daily, but not defining prior to business open or after close of last business, because when is the last business shut down? I mean, if it's in the dark in part of the year, you're not gonna be able to see what you're cleaning up, right?
Correct. So the last business is going to be the grocery store that's closing. And I believe, I would have to check off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but it's probably 8 or 9 p.m.
Right, so half the year, it's gonna be dark if it's after the close of last business. So I don't know if we wanna just leave it twice daily and get rid of the before and after and leave that open to the property owner to determine when the best time is.
Okay, yep.
So
I mean, I'm okay with that. I do think it needs to be more regular than just once a day. And you do that during the winter also, right?
Yeah, it's a little more challenging to do during the winter. You've got snowbanks and things of that nature. But definitely the trash control is done consistently, regardless of the season.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so I guess I'd recommend modifying 11 by removing what's in the parentheses.
Okay. Michelle, you had a comment?
Yeah, I actually did also forget, I did want to also make a recommendation based on Councilor Crow's letter, that they submit, that the property owners submit proof of maintenance, of a maintenance contract regarding the riverfront area. I don't know, it can be an annual contract, it can be whatever contract it is, but just so that the city has that on record, that there is a contract. So I would recommend that, that the property owner, shall submit to city copy of maintenance contract regarding riverfront area. And that can be, the maintenance, the cleanup, it can be anything, maintenance, I'm including everything, maintenance.
Okay.
It won't specify, but maintenance, do you think that's enough to say maintenance contract? Or do you want to specify?
Well, the maintenance contract seems to capture it. What
Okay.
specifically are you seeking to add?
No, I just, people understand what we mean by maintenance, a maintenance contract regarding the riverfront
Right,
area.
I mean, we're not talking about a plumbing maintenance contract. you
Right,
might have
right.
Or something like that.
And
It's-
actually, maybe we can just add it to 9, comply with the DEP. So then we know it's tied to that. So comply with the DEP order to maintain it, and we could say property owner shall submit a copy of the maintenance contract. That way it's, for the riverfront area, that way it's tied to that. So the contract needs to include maintaining the access and the walkway and everything.
Okay,
With
so-
the DEP.
So 12 is removed and
Yes.
9 is
Yeah, I would add that to
expanded
9,
include that.
yes. I would recommend you add that to 9, the second sentence,
Okay, is that it?
yes.
Eric Henry.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. In reference to Council Crow's letter, I did kind of light on 2 things she said on there. In to quote, she said, "My experience has been that the river area is only addressed when the petition is before this board and not maintained after." So, and then with the last, what is the enforcement process? Who follows through on this 7 years from now?
Similar to all the special permits and any conditions of any special permits or variances, the city enforces them. The building commissioner can enforce them, the building inspector can enforce them, the police could enforce them, compliance officers can enforce them. The key is it has to be brought to the city's attention. So if the city's not aware that that's not being maintained or cleaned up, it's not reported or it's not seen, it's not gonna get enforced. And actually, I had a conversation with Councilor Crowe about this, if somebody's not going by it and seeing that it's not cleaned up every day, how do we know it's not being cleaned up every day? That's the issue. So I think that's why she was thinking if they at least submit the contract, there'll be something, they'll know that they're supposed to be maintaining it. It'll be a little more, I guess I would call it teeth. Instead of just saying you need to comply with it, you need to prove, submit a maintenance contract showing that you're gonna be complying with it. Again, you'd have to go by and see that they weren't complying with it. So, you know, in 7 years or in 7 months, we don't know that, and it's not enforced unless it's enforced.
Thank you. So my understanding is that the enforcement process could be triggered by anyone in the public, then,
Any
anybody.
reporting, it could be
anyone that
see,
would
click,
report it.
fix, it could be you reporting it to me, it could be anybody reporting it to the mayor, doing the report online. It can be any number of ways it gets reported. But yeah, a complaint essentially has to be filed, if you will, or a request for enforcement. And then somebody would go out there, a building official typically, or compliance officer, and either give them a warning or a ticket. Usually I think it's a warning first, and then they can follow up with fines if it's not addressed.
Kudos to Council Crowe. I really like this. I don't know how often we've triggered this kind of mechanism in our processes beforehand, but it should be as something that we should emulate going forward more frequently. And with that, I'll yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any other questions for Michelle? In that case, is there a motion? Ken Antonucci.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the special permit with the 11 modified conditions.
Okay, Ken's made a motion to approve with the 11 modified conditions. Eric McCush.
I'll second that motion.
Eric McCush seconds it. Okay, thank you. Let me see here. Through the help of Paul Hammersley, we're able to get most everyone identified, so.
Do you want me to take the roll call vote?
Yes, please take the roll call vote.
Ken Antonucci?
Yes.
Yes.
Right, just want to make sure.
This is to grant the special permit with 11 conditions as modified.
Yes.
Diane Chuha?
Yes.
Charles Ferguson?
Yes.
Chawadich Gebrselassie?
Yes.
Risa Gray?
Yes.
Patrick Hayes?
Yes.
Eric Henry?
Yes.
Eric McCush?
Yes.
Charles Iobin?
Yes. Petition's been granted with conditions. Thank you very much. The next petition that we're going to hear is 98 Laurel Street. See you later. Yep. Yes, if you could read the notice, please.
The Malden Planning Board will hold a public hearing in the Herbert L. Jackson Council Chamber, Malden City Hall, 215 Pleasant Street, Malden, Mass. At 7 p.m. on Wednesday, April 13, 2022, on the petition of Lawrence French, trustee of the L. French Realty Trust, permit application number RES 041885-2022, under Title 12, Chapter 28, Section 0.10D of the Code of the City of Malden, seeking a special permit to change use of pre-existing non-conforming property in the Residence A zoning district namely to convert the existing dwelling from a single-family dwelling and rooming house to a two-family dwelling at the property known as numbered 98 Laurel Street, Malden, Mass., and also known by City Assessors Parcel ID 133-684-406.
Thank you, Michelle. Is the petitioner present?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Madam Planner, members of the board. My name is Attorney Lisa McGloin. I represent the petitioner, Mr. French, along with Mr. Larson. Mr. French is technically the trustee and owner and is unavailable health-wise. He has COVID. Mr. Larson is his power of attorney. And I'm here ready to proceed and present. Mr. Larson is also the occupant and beneficiary of the trust.
Okay, thank you.
Spell your name and also give your address, please.
Certainly, Lisa, L-I-S-A, last name McGloin, M-C, capital G-L-O-I-N, 101 North Common Street, Lynn, Massachusetts, 01902.
Thank you, miss. Okay, what are you proposing to do?
Mr. Chairman, the board is aware, we are here seeking a special permit to make the property into a two-family residence. Currently, it has a single-family residence on the first floor, and the second and third floor contain a rooming house with 6 bedrooms on the second and third floor. Technically, there are 8 current bedrooms in use in the building. The proposal before you is to convert that non-conforming use that existed prior to the building ordinance, the zoning ordinance, and to change it into a two-family with 2 bedrooms on the first floor, which is the current existing layout, and on the second and third floor, lessen the use to 2 bedrooms on the second floor and 2 bedrooms on the third floor. The layout of the property will be exactly the same from the exterior. There's currently adequate parking, which contains 6 parking spaces, which I believe meets the bedroom requirement in Malden. And the footprint of the building is not being altered in any way, shape, or form. It is merely the interior, reducing the bedrooms, making them larger, which Mr. Larson and Mr. French are seeking to do. I do have for you, if you would like it, Mr. Larson and Mr. French and I met with Councilman Winslow and discussed the project. He was in support. He suggested that we discuss the matter with the neighbors, and we do have the support signed of many of the abutting neighbors. If you'd like me to submit that to you.
Yes, if you'd like to, that's fine. Thank you.
And I just would say that I believe all the setback requirements are met as well. I think it's just the non-conforming nature of the lot, and many of the abutting properties are multifamilies as well, so it is in conformity with the neighborhood. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, I do have just a couple of quick questions.
Certainly.
I did go out the other day, and there seems to be some trash in the back of the building. It's like a big cardboard box, and there's garbage in a plastic shopping bag, and then another trash bag with items in it. Do you know what?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Chris,
name and address for the record.
Chris Larson, 98 Laurel Street, Malden. And yes, my water heater let go. And so that was the box from the water heater and some part soaking wet trash to be taken out. I actually have to wait and bring my trash elsewhere right now. So it's outside until the end of the week when I can take to dispose of it.
Okay, so that's gonna go, because I get the box, I get some of the other stuff that was there, but it looked like there was a bag of what I'd call garbage, that you might put in a garbage pail.
Okay.
It didn't look just like dry refuse.
Well,
or,
it could have just been stuff off of the floor that I took outside and put it back there. I mean, we've been doing a lot of work outside, so I know there's ladders out there right now and everything else.
Okay,
but that will 100% not be
You'll have
there.
all that removed?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Okay, the other question I have, and I reviewed the plans and things like that. I'd like to ask you a couple questions about the layout. On the third floor of the proposal, there's what appears to be about a 275 square foot room that says owner's storage.
Yep.
Can you expand
that-
on what that is?
Yeah, so that used to be a bathroom. I mean, it's still, then, it's just the access to it is very old and out of code. So we just closed it off and, we closed off the whole area. Just so it's not accessible to the tenant. Oh, it'll technically be storage if we have anything to put up there. It won't be accessible to the tenants who live
Is
there.
it gonna be finished? Oh, when you say owner, do you mean the owner of the property? I was assuming it was the second and third floor unit would have access to that.
No, that won't be accessible to them because it's pretty much just a dead space that we're just not really using, but more for storage for us if we needed anything.
So it's not accessible to either tenant. That prompted the other question of where is storage for the first unit? Or I guess now the question is, where is storage for both units? Is it in the basement?
Yes.
Is it a finished basement?
No, it's unfinished.
So it's an unfinished basement, and there's no plans to finish it off?
No, sir.
Or anything like that? Okay, I just want to make sure that there don't become family rooms or other bedrooms or anything like that in the basement.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Okay. Thank you. When would you start the renovations? Is it occupied by anyone now? Will anyone be displaced out of the rooming house?
No, it has been vacant for a while.
Okay. And I imagine you start as soon as you get the permits. How long do you think construction would take?
That would be my contractor.
If you come up, name and address for the record, please.
I'm a builder or general contractor. We've had a permit there to renovate the bathrooms and the kitchens. We have a little more work to do there, and he should be able to rent it for June 1st or July 1st.
So second and third floors will be
Yes.
renovated by July 1st?
Yes. Well, the kitchens and bathrooms have already been done. We've already had the permit for that. There's a little cleanup up there, some painting to be finished. That's why the ladders are there. Some carpet to be installed. And with this pandemic, we're trying to do a new service, and the meter bars and all that for the outside, they're on order, so they should be here within 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
And all permits have been pulled for everything.
Do I take that to mean you started renovations before you got the permit approved?
We've already had all the permits approved. The city of
So I
Malden.
think, to clarify, Mr. Chairman, if it's continued to use as a rooming house, they have permits for the work that they're
The
doing.
work that they're doing.
But
Thank
they
you.
haven't started the work that would turn it, to box it off to be a one-unit building.
Thank you for the clarification.
Could you give your name and address for the record and sign in, please?
I signed it.
I'm Phil Brienzi. I live at 45 Pine Grove Ave, Lynn, Mass.
How do you spell your last name?
Brienze.
Okay, you said you were the contractor?
General contractor, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hold on a second. Oh, Mr. Henry, I saw your name up there. Is it still?
Michelle, it was to address the point of order that Michelle did raise.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any other questions? You answered mine about that big room and won't be accessible to the tenants and what the basement will be used for. Does anyone else have any other questions for the petitioner? Michelle? Okay.
So do you, the basement will be for storage and utilities only, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so will there be washer and dryer down there? Is that where that is gonna be?
Yes.
Okay, so if we said basement for storage, utilities and laundry, that would be fine? Because that's what you intend to do? Okay, and what's the garage used for right now? Looks like there's a second floor and
There is, it's strictly storage.
it's all storage. Okay, do you park cars in there or?
Yes,
Okay, okay, thanks. Are you going to stay in the building?
yes, ma'am.
Okay. So do you think it's not required, but are you thinking of keeping it as a two and renting? Or do you think maybe you're gonna turn it into condos, or do you know, do you have any idea?
Keeping it as a two-family and
Okay,
renting.
you're keeping it as a two, okay, thank you.
Okay, Eric McCush.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a question regarding snow storage. Where are you going to put the snow? Are you going to plow or snow blow?
I snow blow,
Okay.
and I always find somewhere to put it.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I have an exact plan, but if worked correctly.
There's also to the, if you face the garage, to the left, there's a bunch of area right there that is all like grass and stuff where the ladders are from the painter.
Okay.
Which is a good storage for snow.
For your board's reference too, they're not actually required to have snow storage, singles and twos are exempt.
Okay.
So it's good that they will have it. I think last time when you brought the petition, were you looking for 3? So I think then it was triggering the snow storage requirements. And I just also wanted to call your attention to this as well in terms of paving, which has to do with one of the conditions. And I think this has changed possibly, well, maybe it was in effect when you were here last. So minimum of 50% of the front yard, side yard, and rear yard must be devoted to lawn or landscaping and not paving. So it does look like you paved a little on the left. That looked like new pavement on the left of the driveway, whereas before I think it was landscaped. Is that new?
Yeah, there was a little bit of mulch and some
Okay.
stuff, but there was no actual greenery
Okay.
over there.
But in terms of, and that I believe is shown on your plan, but in terms of anything else, you wouldn't, I think you need, if you ever wanted to do any other paving, you would need to submit a plan, show, because the building commissioner will determine, is it more than 50%? Like right now, that side yard's definitely over, so you're exempt because it's there now, but say you wanted to add more, like there's a driveway on the right, or there's a walkway on the right, but there's a driveway I think belongs to the other property.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but when I was there, the car was parked kind of on the walkway in the driveway, so suppose you wanted to put another parking space, you'd need to get permission to do that. Or see if you could get permission to do that, I should
Yes,
say.
I don't have any intentions to alter
Okay.
the front of the house anymore.
Okay, thanks. And then my last question just had to do with the side. So on the same side where that walkway is, not the driveway side, looked like the basement had some openings patched up with wood. Is that all, the windows were open and then there was like wood over
Broken
one
out
of them?
windows through the winter that I've repaired with wood,
Okay, so
just
you're,
to keep, rodents and weather out.
but you're gonna be fixing those and putting windows in or what?
Yes.
We can replace them.
Yeah, I mean, it actually looked like a couple planks nailed up over.
On which side of the building?
This is on the right side, so
Over near where
facing
you-
it.
Oh, yeah, I'll take a look at it, I'll take it out.
Yeah, there was actually,
And I'll replace them.
yeah, I can even show you
Make
these
them look pretty.
pictures. It was in the back of the porch. And then also there were 2 towards the front of the house too. Looked like a series of them. The basement windows were missing and they were just pieces of wood. So that'll be taken care of? Yep. Okay, thanks. That was it, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Anyone else have any questions? Is there anything else you'd like to present?
No, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you
and
very
consideration.
much. At this point in time, if you're all set, at this point in time, we'll entertain anyone that would like to speak in favor of the petition.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone speak in favor? Michelle, do you have anything to read in favor?
Yes, I have an email dated April 11th, 2022. It reads, "I am not able to attend Wednesday's meeting. I have met with the property owner and walked through the building. I support the planning staff conclusion and conditions." This is referencing the planning report. Please share my comments with the planning board. It's signed Councilor Winslow. So that is Council Stephen Winslow. He's the Ward 6 councilor. And also, we just received tonight petition in support of approval for a two-family dwelling at 98 Laurel. And it's signed by several abutters on Spruce Street, 1, 2, 3 abutters on Spruce Street, and 3 residents on Laurel Street. So a total of 6
Very good, thank you.
signed in favor in this petition.
Very good. Do
That
you have
was
anything
just
else you
submitted.
want to read in
No.
favor?
Thank you. They all checked off yes, support the project.
Okay. And I see no one else looking to speak in favor, so I declare that part of the hearing closed. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this petition? Anyone in opposition? Michelle, anything to read in opposition? No. Seeing and hearing no one in opposition, declare that part of the hearing closed. Michelle, can you take us through your staff report, please?
So, again, this is staff report, planning report and recommendation dated April 13th, 2022. It's incorporated into the record. I won't read everything if we've already reviewed it. So we heard about the proposal. I've given you the breakdown based on the plans of the size of the existing unit and the rooming house, number of bedrooms, and where the proposed units will be, their size, location, number of bedrooms. Stated here, the plans that were submitted in support of the petition. You have the set of plans that are the floor plans and elevations, and you also have a site plan. The property is located in the Residence A zoning district. The rooming house use is a pre-existing non-conforming use. It predates the current zoning ordinance. It's prohibited in this district. The proposed two-family dwelling is prohibited in the district, however, may be allowed by special permit as a conversion of a pre-existing non-conforming use. The direct abutter to the north is a single-family dwelling, to the south a two-family dwelling, and to the east a single-family dwelling and a two-family dwelling. To the west, on the other side of Laurel Street, are a two-family dwelling and a three-family dwelling in the Residence B zoning district. Surrounding land uses are residential dwellings, business and institutional uses on Salem Street, and a neighborhood business zoning district in Maplewood Square. I did mention the petition that you heard previously in 2019. This is a different petition. So it's not subject to that repetitive petitions law. Dimensional controls, the property predates the current zoning ordinance. It grossly violates most dimensional controls. It is considered pre-existing non-conforming. I've given you the breakdown of the sizes, what's required for lot area, frontage, the setbacks, et cetera. The property's currently subject to dimensional regs for buildings with multiple principal uses, because there's the rooming house and single-family dwelling. The proposal reduces the existing lot area violation, eliminates the frontage violation, and maintains one side yard setback violation. It creates a new violation of density. So now it's just going to have the one single use. It'll be considered a two-family. And that will be the same whether it ever becomes condos or not. It will still be considered a two-family dwelling use. The proposal reduces, I already said that, okay, so parking requirements for the single family, that's actually exempt. It only requires 2 parking spaces, which happens to be the same as the current requirements. The rooming house requires 6 parking spaces, so this particular proposal requires 6, 1 per bedroom, so it eliminates the existing parking violation as to number of spaces. As depicted on the site plan, there is parking for a total of 6, 4 in the existing driveway and 2 spaces in the garage. The tandem spaces are allowed for the two-family dwelling. The property appears to comply with requirements to maintain a minimum of 50% of front yards, side yards, and rear yards devoted to lawn and/or landscaping, not paving. Actually, I don't believe one of the side yards complies. I think the side yard on the driveway side, as I mentioned, is more than that, but that would be considered exempt. But front yard, the other side yard, and the rear yard would need to continue to comply with that. To grant a special permit, you must make the following finding. that the proposal is not more detrimental to the neighborhood. So provided that you make that finding, the recommendation is that a special permit be granted subject to the following conditions. 1, all development shall be as per plans except as modified by these conditions. 2, the maximum number of bedrooms is 6. 3, the garage may be used for parking and storage only, not for residential living space. 4, no more than 50% of the front yard may be paved and used for parking. Maintain lawn and or landscaping of open space in rear yard, northern side yard, and front yard. And 5, I would recommend the basement, a condition that says the basement may be used only for storage, utilities, and laundry, not residential living space.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Michelle? No questions for Michelle. Is there a motion? Diane Chuha.
Motion that we grant the following petition with the conditions that were outlined.
Thank you. Diane's made a motion for recommendation to staff with the amended for the 5 conditions. Is there a second? Eric McCush.
I'll second that motion.
Eric McCush seconds the motion.
So it's to grant a special permit with the 5 conditions.
Correct.
Okay.
Let the record reflect that there are only 8 people voting on the matter this evening. Okay, go ahead, Michelle.
Diane Chuha,
Yes.
Charlie Ferguson,
Yes.
Tawadich Gilbert Selassie,
Yes.
Risa Gray,
Yes.
Patrick Hayes,
Yes.
Eric Henry,
Yes.
Eric McCush,
Yes.
Charles Iovine.
Yes, petition's been granted. Okay. The next item on the agenda is 9092 Salem Street. They're looking for a waiver of the traffic study. Michelle?
Yes, so you do have a copy of the request for waiver that was submitted. This is a proposal that is going to require a special permit. It's requiring a special permit because the proposal is for a 10-unit multifamily dwelling in the neighborhood business zoning district, and also will be triggering our inclusionary housing zoning ordinance. So we'll need a special permit for both of those, under both of those sections. So that will be scheduled as soon as you make a determination about the traffic study. So because it's at the threshold, the 10 units, it is triggering a traffic impact study. They have requested a waiver based on the amount of traffic generated, being nominal, the location, et cetera. So the recommendation is that the waiver be granted, and if you do grant the waiver, then we will move forward and schedule the public hearing on the petition. This is just done at a public meeting, so it's just for the board to act out in a public meeting, to act at a public meeting, I should say. You're not required to hear from the petitioner, there's no presentation, there's no public comment or testimony taken. So I don't have anything to read in favor or in opposition or anything like that, and that's why, you know, we only posted it on the agenda. We didn't give notice to abutters or anything else.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Michelle on this? Basically, they're looking to waive the requirement for a traffic study. They're looking to put a 10-unit residential building in at what used to be law offices and one unit.
But you're not voting on the 10 units
Yeah.
tonight. You're just voting on the waiver,
The waiver,
the
right?
traffic waiver. You'll hear the full case about the conversion to 10 units, as well as the inclusionary housing piece at the actual public hearing.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Michelle? Is there a motion to approve the waiver of the traffic study? Eric Henry.
I move that we approve the motion to, as presented.
Okay, Eric's made a motion to approve the request for the waiver. Is there a second? Charlie Ferguson.
Second.
Charlie seconds it.
Did you want to state that Eric McCush has notified me he's not participating in this?
I wasn't aware of that.
Okay, he's
Okay,
gonna,
so
he
why don't you
notified me, so
tell us that?
he's gonna tell you that. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am a member of the Board of Directors for the Davenport Memorial Home and unsure of whether I have any conflict of interest. So with that in mind, I will be abstaining from
Okay,
voting.
yep.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that, Mr. McCush. So let the record reflect that Eric McCush will not be partaking in the vote this evening, nor will he participate in the hearing next.
Right. We can
when
announce
we-
that at the
when we have
next,
that.
at the hearing, right? But I agree, you know, err on the side of caution.
Yep, okay, so go ahead. Go ahead,
So
Michelle.
the motion was to waive the filing requirement. The motion was by Eric Henry, seconded by Charlie Ferguson. A yes vote is to waive the requirement. Diane Shuha,
Yes.
Charlie Ferguson,
Yes.
Tawadej Gebrselassie,
Yes.
Risa Gray,
Yes.
Patrick Hayes,
Yes.
Eric Henry,
Yes.
Charles Ioven.
Yes,
Okay, and so that was 7, and you only need a majority to carry that type of motion anyway.
okay, good.
So that's good, so we'll move ahead and schedule the hearing on the special permit.
Okay, next item on the agenda. Eric, is there a update on the Community Preservation Committee?
Unfortunately, I'm not able to provide an update as I was unable to attend the last meeting. I was incapacitated.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other old or new business, Michelle? The annual report?
Two things, yes, you have the annual report. This is a, excuse me, the draft copy. It's due this month, so I'm giving it to you to review if
Yeah,
you
no, I
wanna.
reviewed it.
Okay.
I'm okay with it.
Okay, I don't know if the members want to take a look before you move to approve it, then we'll file it, or this is, I would just focus, if you wanted to, on the last two, which are similar to the last, or however you want to do this, it's up to you. I didn't distribute this ahead of time because it wasn't,
Right, but it's been in the
Finalized.
package, so they
Yeah.
probably reviewed it before the meeting.
okay.
Yes. So if, let me know when everyone has an opportunity, to just glance at it.
After the traffic waiver, it's the last piece.
Yep. No, most of them are reading it. Has everyone had a chance to look at it? Eric Henry.
Yes, Just curious, it says some terms have already expired? As far
I'm
as the
sorry, what was
membership?
that?
Whose term?
Well, according to this, it said my term expired on March 1st, 2022.
Okay, well, you were just, I think you're in the reappointment process.
Have you been approved yet? I don't think you were approved yet.
Okay,
You're going through the process, and I don't
Yeah.
expect any reason why you wouldn't be reappointed. But as of today, or April 13th, when we're submitting it,
Yeah, these were current expirations. I think that you're in the process of being reappointed. I don't know, did you receive a letter yet saying you're being reappointed?
I know I had the conversation, and, you know,
Yeah.
and I know I accepted it,
Yeah.
but I just I also, as I look at this, it would indicate to me that we have members who are beyond their time of service as of this date, as we're putting this into the record.
Well, you serve until your successor's appointed. So even if your term's expired, you continue to serve legally. You're still valid.
as long as you're a resident of the city.
Right, unless you resign. Like if you say you don't want to be, yes, as long as you're a resident of the city. And we actually, one year, well, this was years ago, we had like half the board was expired, but the mayor at the time just hadn't reappointed, but everybody was still serving, and that's valid and legal, so,
Appreciate the point of clarification.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is there a motion then to accept the proposed annual report? Eric McCush.
I think I'll make a motion to accept the annual report.
Thank you, Eric. Is there a second for Eric's motion? Diane Chuha.
I'll second.
Diane Chuha seconds it. And,
It can just be a
all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Anything else?
The only other thing I wanted to just give you a brief update, April 26th, there's going to be a presentation to the city council. You don't have to attend, but if you're available and might want to watch, I'll be working with the Office of Strategic Planning, the former MRA. We'll be giving a presentation to the city council on the new, what's called the Economic Housing Choice Law, which is also known as the Mbta Community Zoning Law. In familiar terms, you may have heard of it. There was a new provision in Chapter 40A that requires MBTA communities to have certain types of zoning for housing in certain areas in order to be eligible for certain grant funding. So the law also requires that a presentation be given to the city council or town council, if it were a town, before a certain date. So this is just an informational presentation. It's worth it. If you want to watch it, great. If not, I will get the handouts. There'll be a PowerPoint presentation, and I'll bring that to the next meeting. I just didn't, I wanted to make sure you don't have to attend, but there may be proposed zoning changes that come out of this that we eventually would hear. Again, you don't have to worry about that right now, but in case it's mentioned in the presentation and you're like, I didn't know anything about it, it's going to be an informational presentation only, as required by law. Eventually, I'll bring you more information. I don't have that right now. I will bring whatever, like I said, presentation to the next meeting, so you'll at least have that and can be familiar with what the law says. Changes also some voting thresholds and things like that. It will affect some of our cases, but it's required by law. So it will no longer, for example, need 6 votes to grant certain things. It will only need 5, all specific to housing. So, I'll keep you updated. I just wanted to mention that meeting because that's coming up before our next meeting. If you want to watch it, you can. If not, I'll give you the handout. Thank you. Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, City Council, although the first matter that night will be the Charles Street marijuana petition. So they'll do that public hearing and then do the presentation on this, so you could
Okay,
hear that as
anything
well.
else,
So,
Michelle?
nope, that was all that I had. Thank you.
Okay, next meeting is Wednesday, May 11th.
Yes.
Everyone, happy Easter, happy Ramadan, happy Passover. And is there a motion to adjourn? Diane's motion to adjourn, seconded by Tawadage. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Have a good evening, everyone. We'll mess with this another time.
Right, or I can just email Ron and he can.
Yeah, let's email Ron, because we gotta figure out the order too. Well, have a good one, everyone. Enjoy. Yes. Oh.
It's hard every time.
I may be booking a suite at your place.